This is the third installment of the video in the Parabola Master Bath project. We're going to explore the countertop and custom sink for our vanity. If we take a look at the vanity that we're going to develop, it's going to look like this with the countertop and the integrated sink. And initially the client came to us with a photo of the sink that looked like this photo. And so we're going to go through the steps to create that custom project. I'm going to use a split screen so you can see what is going on in the view on the right, either in a 3D view or in a wall elevation. In my plan view on the left, I'm going to use a custom countertop tool, and I'm going to draw out a countertop, and I'm going to purposely do this off the side of the cabinet. If I press the tab key while I'm doing this, I can enter in the dimensions for the countertop. So I'm going to enter in 62 inches, so that'll give me a 1-inch overhang on the 60-inch vanity. And then for the Y, that shows up as a negative, since the direction I'm drawing will be 22 inches. That'll give me a 1-inch overhang. So now I've got that set. Let's back our camera out here just a little bit. So you can see the countertop has been generated right here. And if I highlight the countertop, let's go ahead and set the height. I want to add 5 inches to this, so let's make that 36 7/8. The 7/8, by the way, is for the floor thickness. And we'll change the countertop thickness to 5 inches. Select OK, and there is our countertop. In my plan view, we'll just highlight the countertop. I'll center it on the vanity, and then we'll just slide that into place. And it looks like I missed my center. Let's just repeat that real quick. So I've got my countertop into place, and now I need to create our custom sink. And while there are many sinks in our library, there is nothing that quite looks like the integrated sink that we're after. If I open up the photo here, there's nothing that we have that has this type of shape. So I'm going to use the CAD tools and show you how to create very unique shapes using those tools. So let's just slide those photos over here. And I'm going to do most of this work initially in the wall elevation view. So let's open up that elevation view. And my basic dimensions for my sink are going to be 42 inches by 15 inches. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a line tool, and I'm going to draw a line. Again, I'm going to use the tab key. So I'm drawing out that line. I want it to be 42 inches. That's going to be the length of the sink. And I'm not going to worry about centering it on the cabinet at this point. I have the 42-inch length here. Let's highlight that. And I'm going to use a copy in place tool down here in the lower section. You won't be able to see anything happen when I do that. And then I'm going to convert that to an arc. I'm going to slide that arc down here to somewhere in the range of about 4 inches. I'm going to zoom in on this, and what I want to do is I'm going to convert that arc because I want a really, really smooth sink, and this arc segment is going to be a little bit faceted. So I'm going to open up this arc segment, and I'm actually going to use a convert to a curved polyline, and I'm going to add 60 segments because that's going to create a nice smooth arc for that sink. So I'm going to get a bunch of points in here, but it's going to be really smooth through that area. Press the space bar to deselect that. So I basically have the shape that I want for the sink. And now if I highlight that, I'm going to convert that to a solid. So just click on the convert and choose polyline solid, and then I will set the dimension of that to be 15 inches, and that's going to be the width of our sink. And select OK. And you can see that in the plan view. Let's go ahead and highlight it in our plan view. Have to press the tab key. And I'm going to use the center tool, and we'll center it this way, and then we'll also center it the other way. So now that is exactly centered on the sink. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually convert that to a solid tool because I'm going to do a solid subtraction. So I'm going to convert that to a solid, and I'm going to do the same thing to the countertop. So I've got the countertop that we created, and I'm going to convert that to a solid. And what that is going to allow me to do is to do a subtraction. So let's go ahead and pull that solid into the sink countertop. And it's very close to the edge. I'm very close on it. Let's go into our 3D view so you can see what we have. In fact, let's turn on the glasshouse view before I do this subtraction so you can get a better look at it. So you see that solid that we just placed down into that? Let's go ahead and convert that back to the standard view here. So now I'm going to highlight the countertop, and then in the lower section of your menu is a solid subtraction tool. I'm going to click that, and now I'm going to click on the object to subtract it from, and now it's removed that element out of there. If I change my camera view to technical illustration, you can see that cutout now. I'm going to use the back clip cross section tool so you can get a better look at this. I'm just going to create a section right through the sink, and you can see what we have going on with that. So you see the nice smooth arc that we got out of the sink has been subtracted from the major part of the countertop. So those are two tools that can create very unique shapes for you. Let's close the section view, and let's go back into the render view here. Click back to standard, and in the library, let's change our materials for that countertop. And I'm going to use a surface manufacturer. Let's try Cambria. And in their different styles, I'm looking for something a little bit smooth. So I'm going to try the Waverton material, and I'm going to apply it onto the sink. If you look at my original render, what I did here with the vanity was to put water into the sink because I noticed that it was very difficult to see the contour of the sink in a nice render view. And the way I did that was in my plan view here. I just used our solid tool and I snapped onto the edge off of here. And let's go ahead and tab in and grab that. And let's set the thickness of the water to be something like 3 inches. And then the elevation of the top, remember our top of our cabinet's 36 and 7/8, so let's just set this to be something like 34.5. Should get us there. So you can see it in here. And then back in the library, let's just find some water. Let's turn off I like to use filters, so I'm going to turn off the paints so we don't find any paints. And I'll just find a water that I like. And now I can apply that in our 3D view. And that helps it stand out when you're doing your renderings. Now the last step that I'll do with the vanity, and then we'll get into the wall niche, is to add our faucet. And there's a catalog of, let me close that, a catalog that I keep for projects, and I've already created my faucet down here in the bathroom. I like to save these in my individual folders because it helps me remember it. Here's a low profile faucet, and in the 2D view, let's just grab that and we'll place it, and it places it in the center of the sink. So we've created the steps for that cabinet. I've already added the accessories. I'm going to step back and add those, but what you can do is I can group select this entire cabinet and add it into my library. And the way you can do that is if we just come in, let's turn on all of our layers here. me turn my layer set to all on. So all of the layers are being displayed. And I can draw a marquee around all of these elements, create a block, and now I can add that to my library. Come over here, give it a name, and then if we zoom out here a little bit, I can now grab that and place it into the design. And let's just take a brand new 3D view. Take an overhead view. It places that exact cabinet for us with all of the components saved. So a great way to save time and any custom elements that you've built. And you can unblock that and create modifications of that. So I would encourage you to take a look at adding those items to the library. And then what I do is I create my own library based on projects, since it's easy to name that. And you'll notice that I have this Parabola Bath, and I've saved all of my elements into that. And when I go into future projects, I remember that particular sink that I built by project name, and then I can grab it and reuse components of it. Next section of our video will be looking at adding the niches around the showers, or around the vanity. So we'll move on and take a look at our next video segment.